Rumblespark has broken the game. There it is. That was cool.
Mine's still. Oh, just slowly. There we go. All right.
It's coming. It's coming. That was hello and welcome to the Forgeborn Finishing School. Casey, Kid, and Core here. We'll be analyzing Forgeborn battles to help take your game to the next level. Hey everyone, welcome back for another episode here. Just kind of catching up. We have FuseFest 2 weeks away, so that's coming up very fast. A lot of chatter in the Discord picking up on that. It's going to be the pre-release event for the last winter set 3. So if you haven't bought your tickets, $60 I think is the overall price. Gets you into a bunch of events, gets you a couple boosters, and the link will be in the video description as it has been for the last month or so. So please go ahead and check that out. It's going to be in St. Paul, Minnesota, and we've in the Stoneblade Discord we've set up kind of a meetup get together the Friday night before the event starts, which is on a Saturday. So check into that and tune in for additional details. And then Greg, it's been a couple weeks, but we kind of missed it, and so why don't you give us a quick recap of the Great Plains Games Festival that happened in Nebraska?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Drove up there, met up with Joel, Nolan, and Brandon, and so got there early afternoon or late morning. Got in, played a game to call. That was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. I hadn't played that before. Played Point Salad. Really nice, easy game. Ended up picking that up.
Yeah, sounds like you tried a bunch of games and then bought a bunch of games.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then we went upstairs for the sealed event and just kind of hashed out some games. It was a lot of fun. We had two newer players there that were playing, so kind of just introduced them to the game. Brandon was an awesome host, organizing it, and the prize support was awesome. Got some alt art swag, so I always enjoy those with the minions and and then kind of after that we went back downstairs and Joel brought out Arc Nova, which then was another game I ended up picking up. It was a lot of fun. So
nice. I think it was Joel took the sealed event, right?
Yeah, I believe
first.
so. Yeah, he was giving me a lot of crap for beating down some people with Krogius I drew, and then he just stopped me real good.
You always snag a Krogius in sealed events, man. I got my eyes on you. You got some tricks or something.
Yeah, he played it right. He's like, he went really aggressive, big guys, and got me beat before we got into the third cycle. And
nice. That's how you got to do it. Pedal to the metal and try to get through it. I think he was playing Tempest Aloyan. That looked like a fun deck, so kudos to him. And then let's jump into, before this episode, we'll talk just a little bit about next week's episode. We have a collaboration with Scuba Toad from Grey Vikings Game, who, if you have not had a chance, runs one of the, I would say, the most popular and most prominent secondary market for SolForge Fusion decks in the game. And he runs all those sales through the Stoneblade Discord, utilizing the collection manager. One thing that's really awesome is from the beginning he's given a small cut of his company's profits to those content creators in the company that manage and keep the collection manager relevant, which is a huge tool all of us use and we don't take for granted, but I love seeing that little bit of support back. And Scuba Toad's going to come on the episode and evaluate some decks of ours, and next week, just prior to that episode launching, we're going to list a large amount of our decks up for sale and just kind of talk through the mechanism that they use to evaluate the decks and kind of look at it through the lens of seeing the secondary market a little bit, but also how that can relate to you as a player and how you can see the valuation in decks, because the valuation in decks obviously is pretty strongly tied to the competitive level of decks. There's some things that factor in that don't necessarily play to the competitive level, some things like foil decks or highly sought after cards, but I think for the most part, right, Greg, it's pretty well tied to competitive.
Yeah, competitive, or some of the funner decks that could see
Yeah.
play, or some things that are potential. But yeah, you're right. It tends to drive towards what's competitive, or potentially what's rare. So it'll be interesting to see how that changes with set 3 release with the frauds experiments.
Yeah.
Could be interesting. I know there's people want to collect them, so we might seeing some of the collector side of people come out.
And I'm super excited for this episode next week and the collaboration because for those that don't know, Scuba Toad is also the person that on the Discord has been taking users' names and kind of kicking back. Hey, these are what my script or algorithm says are your 3 most competitive or powerful decks. 3 to 5 decks, and he slings it back at people and kind of, they give their feedback. But for the most part, I mean, a couple things here and there, maybe people would say, I can understand why. Maybe I think this one, but honestly, that's like 1 or 2 out of the 30 he's done. So it's very interesting to see, and I'm excited to talk about that as well.
Yeah, it's kind of neat seeing his. Kind of, originally was like, well, I don't think that's right, and then I started thinking about it and kind of discussing, and I was like, yeah, that's pretty spot on for what I had.
Yeah, yeah, and the deck that of mine that came up as my number 1 most powerful, I would have said it's in the top 3 for sure. But like you said, as you kind of think about it, it is the deck that always slides into my pairings. It's in a lot of my pairings, and I know that it's extremely fun while being very good. So it's a very good indicator, and yeah, we'll talk about that. But let's jump into this episode, Greg, and I'm gonna let you kind of jump into it just because you're the one who said, "Hey, I saw this message. Maybe this is something that could help the community."
Yeah, and I wish I could give a shout out to who had brought it up or asked, but unfortunately I can't quite remember. But somebody had brought up, we started after the patch had come out with RSE and a lot of the soulbinds starting to work more correctly now. A lot of us that have been playing for a while talked about the RSE meta and how that's going to come in, and people are going to be going against very strong decks. And there is, kind of a question on what is the RSE meta, like what does the RSE deck do, things of that nature. So I think today we're just going to play our Rumblespark Embodiment decks, which is based off of which is basically the soulbind for Nova Elementalist. So we're going to play our Nova Elementalist decks to kind of go over, kind of talk about our plays and about it throughout the episode. And then what you a lot of times see with the Nova Elementalist or Rumblespark deck is seeing it paired with Dark Art Sorcerer, which is really good way of triggering it off. So we'll kind of go through that as we're playing through the episode. It does not say that we necessarily need Dark Art Sorcerer, but when people say RSE, it's usually implied that Dark Art is in there, unless you're Joel. So.
Yeah, or I think it's Godges. Mike has
Godges,
run the Umbruck version quite a bit, so we'll give him credit.
Yeah.
So as you were kind of talking about those cards, Greg, in the background here, I was scrolling a little bit. So now we've got a full screen of the client so everyone can see. And this is my RSE deck. So as Greg said, we're going to just kind of play these against each other and just talk through our plays and hope that kind of helps. Because one thing about Rumblespark Embodiment is that this is one of the decks that really, pun intentional, embodies lane combat in the game and being aware of all of the different things in the game. And one thing the client doesn't supremely do well is showing you all the characteristics of a creature without you having to hover over it. So you have to be very aware of like what is an elemental, what's not an elemental, what's in a specific lane and what's not. So that's what we hope to kind of get out of this little match where we throw against each other. And just know that, Rumblespark decks against Rumblespark decks aren't always the funnest games. Sometimes they will end up very lopsided, and that doesn't mean one of them's better than the other. It just tends to be one of the more lopsided matches. So we'll throw that out there. What we're trying to do is see some of that positioning battle that we're going to go through. So right before we jump into it, Greg, I want to talk through some of the cards you mentioned just a little bit. So Nova Elementalist, now we got it up on the screen here. This is the Soulbind card that is the root of the deck, that as soon as you play it at level 1, drops that Rumblespark energy into play. Level 2 and 3, they aren't irrelevant, but they are irrelevant to the overall strategy. So we're not going to go into those too much, but you can see their abilities, and they are powerful and they are synergistic. So now we're going to scroll down here to the Rumblespark energy and the Rumblespark embodiment. So Rumblespark energy reads, the creatures in this lane are also elementals. It's very key to remember, is that anytime you see that soulbind, anything in that lane is considered an elemental. And then when one of your elementals deals damage to the enemy player, transform this and put it into one of your empty lanes. This is where the embodiment comes into play, which is, as you can see, that level 3, 4/8 card that whenever you play a spell gets 4 attack. So it's like a spell swarm minion, essentially, that's the next level. So you could say a 3rd level of spell swarm is the way I think of it. And then if this would be destroyed, transform this and put this into one of your lanes without an exalt. So that's kind of the key to it. It just keeps coming back. As soon as you kill it, it doesn't die. It just transforms back to that energy. And now, one thing I'll say on that is that if you destroy it, it transforms. So it does not pay off destruction synergy, which is very important to have in your mind because this is often paired with Necrim, as you'll see with both of our decks.
And just for a caveat for newer players, destructive synergy in the regards to, like, say how shambling triggers, right? It won't trigger for that, but it can be used for some of your other destructive synergy cards like Grave Pact or Infernal Ritual. So,
and then the very last card was one of the ones Greg mentioned, Dark Art Sorcerer. Most people know this card, but in case you don't, because it's been around since set 1, this is the thing that probably enables Rumblespark Elemental or Embodiment to kind of go to almost always, up towards that S tier deck. Just simply the pairing of these two can make it very strong. And that's when you play a spell, deal 2 damage to the enemy player, you gain. Now we'll see if we see this in our match, but what that often means is if a Dark Art Sorcerer is on the board before you play the level 1 Nova Elementalist, that is an instant spell because you play the Exalt, it automatically triggers, and you'll get that 4/8 very early in the fight. So, we're going to pair up here, Greg. I'm going to go ahead and challenge you, and we'll just jump into this. And we'll kind of talk through our plays as we go. Not really too worried if we give away secrets in this match again. Results aren't what we're looking for, but just talk through how we position, why we're positioning. All in the efforts that you can defeat the Rumblespark deck, RSE as we call it. So I'm on Forge here. So I get to make a choice, and as you can see at my hand here, so I'm just going to go ahead and drop out the Nova Elementalist first and put the Rumblespark energy. So right now, I could choose to put it in the Nova Elementalist lane, making that an elemental, making it so Greg has to block it, but a 4/5 isn't very threatening, so I'm going to move it out to an empty lane and make him consider that in the back of his mind.
yeah, it's going to be so here, and hopefully we may have my hand showing here, but if I play this card right here, it'll give Ryan the opportunity to potentially kill before I can use it. These are some other cards I want to level up, but now I have to make sure I'm able to block this Rumblespark energy lane. So I'm gonna get a little greedy, and I'm gonna play my Dark Heart Sorcerer in that lane.
So I have no way to remove it unless Greg would have gained life that turn, which isn't going to happen on the Dark Heart play. So this would be a really nice second play, but unfortunately it is nice because so that health trigger is not going to gain. I am going to get the +5 because of the spell. So when Nova Elementals came in, played the Exalt, it's kind of like a free spell trigger. And now,
yeah. So now at this point here, I think I just try to my hand doesn't work out well for this. So at this point, I'm just going to reduce him down just to buy me a,
another
turn, hopefully, with Dark Heart.
So now I'm hoping Greg doesn't draw a Nova Elementalist, because this is very good setup for him. This is actually, even though I got my Nova out first, he's got his Dark Heart on the board. He's drawing 5 cards. If he gets that Nova Elementalist, he's going to get the free Rumblespark.
So here I'll drop this.
There it is.
Play the Rumble Heart on the Dark Heart, which then allows this to flip after I do the damage and gain life. And then I'll place it right there and end my turn.
All right, so this is, now we're going to have a little bit of a Rumblespark standoff. That's why I love Flame Jet in this deck. I'm going to drop the Dark Heart, flip the Flame Jet.
Nice.
Which is going to go ahead and activate my Rumblespark. Oh, I didn't choose that lane. I don't think. Okay, here we go. Honestly, I might be okay with a little bit of a face-off here and see what we can't. What we can't land here.
Okay. All right. So now we're going to see if the app does this right. So I'm going to Infernal Ritual my Rumblespark, killing it. Which then should immediately allow me to put it into a lane. Oh, undo. Wrong lane. Don't double click. Select this. Stop putting it in that lane. There we go. Now I get to play 2 zombies. And then I will trigger this. And then I'll be able to place my Rumblespark back into this lane, shifting it away from his. And I'll be done.
All right. So I think I'm just going to drop this and put it along.
Okay. And I could have done, yeah, so.
Okay. All right, so we'll jump in here and just kind of explain our plays as we go.
Okay. All right, so starting it off here, I will play Spell Sprite over here, and I will pass the turn.
Okay, so I think I have to just kind of try to block up an elemental lane. I didn't get the greatest starting hand here, so we're just going to kind of block. And with that being your first play, maybe that wasn't also your greatest starting hand?
No, it's not. And I have 2 options here at this point. If, hopefully we'll have my hand loaded in here. I could Rageborn Eruptor and put another elemental on the field. Give me breakthrough, right? I could do this. And that also levels it up for later. I also have Infernal Ritual here, which is just generally a good card, so I could swap out this to get it out of the way and just start leveling up this card. I think in this case I am just going to work on getting another elemental in play to try to get my Rumblespark out.
Okay. I'm just gonna take 5. That could be risky in this aggressive matchup, but I have a pretty rough hand potentially here, so we'll get the Camouflage Shambler out.
Yeah, and if you get your Nova Elementus, you'll be able to drop it into that lane, and then I'll have, with the Stout, that'll be a problem for me to deal with.
think I'm gonna make you. I'm gonna give you 2 options to deal with it. Normally I would save that for my second play. But I think I'm gonna give you 2 chances to deal with it, and we'll see if you can deal with it right off the bat or not. So the idea of me doing that is, yeah, right here. So now I've seen he's drawn out the dark card. So he's probably gonna play a spell. Hopefully that spell doesn't kill my shambling or my camouflage shambler, right? That's the hope and the dream.
Oof. Nice.
I really thought about putting it over in that lane. I mean, maybe I should have. So right now I'm leaving an elemental unguarded, which is very dangerous, obviously. So if he's got Nova in his hand, it's coming out with the dark card, of course. But this is the hope to get the dark card on the chance he doesn't have the Nova in hand.
Yeah, I have the Nova in hand, which I need to play it. I have the means of... so this is a little rough for me, but I will have to play this. We'll both get our Novas out. I will just get mine out turn earlier.
Right, you'll get yours park it in front of a Thundersword probably, right? Which is a pretty good place for it.
Well, I mean, you're going to kill the... No, I think I'm... Oh, what happened?
Yeah, our game. Rumblespark has broken the game. There it is. That was cool.
Mine's still... Oh, just slowly. There we go. All right.
It's coming. It's coming. That was cool.
It's gone. I lost the rumble. Undo. All right, let's try that. Undo.
Try. Do it again. Your energy's gone, man. It's in your hand. Oh, there. Okay. All right. Yeah. We fixed it. We'll see.
Maybe. We'll see if it does it again.
What?
Oh no, I was doing it again.
If this ends, we'll just quick restart, and that's really good. We'll probably have to leave that in.
Yep, it's gone for good.
All right, let's try to do a quick restart here.
All right.
I've never seen that before.
That was first for me too.
All right, you're out of there. Challenge you again. Little technical difficulties, but that's all right. We saw some pretty good. I think that was a very good exposure of plugging the lanes, leaving elementals open, taking chances. So we saw a little bit there.
All right.
Okay, so I'm on the forge, as it were. Start with a Gloom Reaper Hag. Ooh, first play Nova.
Now you know that I have it.
Okay, I mean.
Oh, I did that wrong.
You don't do any restart here, quick?
No, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. I could have placed the Nova in the Nova's own lane and dealt with it that way. I could have done because I could have did it as an elemental would allowed me to hit both of your guys for 5 damage.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. Which would have killed them before combat.
Well, that'll learn you.
Yep.
Nah, yeah. I'll consider myself lucky and counting it up, but hopefully we're here to just, like we kind of talked about, show some lane jockeying, lane positioning, how to defeat Rumble. So right now you have your Rumblespark energy out, which means, so I have to be able to soak up all 5 of that damage.
Yep.
Which is a bit of a problem.
I played that wrong too. Oh well.
Okay. So I'm going to drop the dark art here. There you go. So I don't really have any way to stop much of what's happening here, which is pretty unfortunate. So I think I just gotta... You're going to get your Rumblespark. There's no stopping that. So I think I just need to take out the Grimgaunt and move on. I really wish I could also take out, or at least damage the Eruptor, but I can't. Got some decent lane positioning there.
Yeah, I could have played the Mystical Teacher first on the Rumblespark and then played my Elemental, and then I would have got the Rumblespark out for this combat.
Pre-combat.
Yeah.
Yeah, all those things to consider. So I'm just gonna... Wait. Go ahead and get rid of my Shambler pre-combat, get some extra life. Get rid of your Grimgaunt.
Yep.
Do some damage, and then let you get the Rumblespark. There's no stopping it.
Yeah, I put myself in a pretty bad hole on that first turn misplay.
Did, yep. And like you said, a couple of misplays, because we're not really, you know, in a competitive play mindset. But you are set up to have Rumblespark out. You haven't drawn your Dark Heart yet. So now you're 1 spell away from removing my Dark Heart, essentially, is the game plan there, I assume.
Yeah.
So there's one of those moments
Target
where...
the Elemental rather than the Mage.
Yep. And there's one of those moments where that might not have been the most advantageous spell, right? It may not... I can't see your hand, but there's plenty of times in this deck you'll play a spell that is not necessarily advantageous, simply for what it's going to allow you to do, right?
Yeah, I had probably a better spell I could have played. That's fine, though.
I think... Yeah, I'm gonna... I really got to start chipping down this Eruptor, even though it's... No, that's... Yeah, so I'm going to leave the Elemental on the board, even though that might not be the best play. We're going to go ahead and do it that way. Just on the off chance, because this 3-1 is pretty weak, right? Nothing to worry about. I'm going to back that up. I think I need to start chipping down this Eruptor. I wish I had my... Actually, I'm not going to level this up. I'm going to let my Dark Heart die. It's fine. I'll just keep thinking about it. Cutthroat. Sad to see my Dark Heart go. I still don't have Rumble on the board, but
Yeah, it changed what I was gonna do. Kind of liked your other play better.
Yeah, I want to level that Infernal Ritual, right? It's an extremely powerful card after level 1. There you go. Yeah, that's good. So I'm in a very difficult position, even though I'm much higher in life. We'll see if we can get that swung around at all.
I think I'm gonna try to just put pressure on at this point.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that seems good. Ooh, dark arts galore. So I'm in a bit of a trouble. So as it stands right now, if I allow that Grimgaunt to hit me, this is very sad, but I'm going to activate this and this just to keep some things alive. Even though, you know, your sense would say you got a Shambler board, you want things to die, but I have to keep some fodder out on the board, I think. At least one piece, so... yeah, I was hoping that wouldn't happen.
Yeah, I was gonna target the Spell Swarm, but once you played the Shambler, but man,
yeah,
I'm hurting.
Yeah. I don't think you're gonna be hurting for long though, draining 5 life every spell. Okay. Is that the one I want to do? I think maybe I take that back. No, that's not gonna work. Trying to keep my dark card on the board as long as possible. See if I can eventually flip the Rumblespark Embodiment. I have to draw the Nova Elementalist for that to occur, but
yeah, you're still just whittling me down. I can't get up.
I'll be one shy on this. On the Spell Sprite, unfortunately. So I'm really hoping you don't have a spell in hand that's going to get rid of that Spell Swarm. Oh, the Flame Sculptor Seal is going to do it. Yeah,
yep.
There you go. So I'm just can't keep a board here.
Oh.
Well, there we go. Maybe we found a new bug. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it there, Greg. I think we shared some insights, a little bit. I hear Greg submitting a bug report over there on the other end through the keyboard. So hopefully we can make the game better. Obviously we're still in beta, so these things are to be expected. And they did just have a huge fix to the soul binds to even get Rumblespark in a functioning manner. I'm going to jump out of this game. There's one last thing I did want to talk about as far as playing against Rumblespark. So hopefully you saw, just kind of in the way we were playing, some of the cards that you're going to often see. You might not always see a Grimgot Predator or a camouflaged Shambler, but you are going to see some stealth creatures. Those are in the hopes to get into a Rumblespark energy lane and hit you to get the Rumblespark embodiment out, right? You're going to see Shamblers. Shamblers can trigger it as long as they're in the energy lane and another of your creatures dies, right? That's going to trigger it. Dark Heart Sorcerer, culprit number 1. But we do want to talk about just a couple other cards. Vampiric, yep. As soon as you play it into Rumblespark energy lane, it's going to flip it. So I built kind of a fun deck, but it showcases some cards I do want to talk about. I've lovingly named it "You Eat Pieces of Rumble for Breakfast." Oops. Okay. So one of the cards that I think is one of the best cards for targeting the Rumblespark embodiment and getting rid of it, getting it out of the board entirely, is the Leyline Vermin. Now there's other cards that do this. There's the Batterhide in Utera, which is a level gated ability removal capability. There's Nap Time, which is another, remove the ability. And so the remove the abilities cards.
Polymorpher.
Yep, we'll talk care of some of the removals, but basically, so let's say Leyline Vermin, you see it up on the screen here. As soon as I play it and it targets an embodiment on the board, this turn enemy creature loses all printed abilities. That means the Rumblespark embodiment loses the printed ability that says, when this is destroyed, transform it into Rumblespark energy, right? So if you drop the Leyline Vermin, remove the card's abilities, the embodiment's abilities, and you can kill it that turn, the embodiment is gone from the game unless the opponent can bring back their level 1 Nova Elementalist, which is very hard to do. It takes a Stitcher typically, or Ghastly Renewal, some of those reanimate type cards, which most players aren't necessarily using. So that's one of the better ways to do it. Leyline Vermin. And then Greg, prior to this episode, we were kind of talking, and you brought up a really good one. And you just mentioned Polymorpher Dendrify level 2. It's one of the funnest ways to do it. You get to give your opponent, essentially, here, let me pull one up, but you're giving your opponent an 8/8 with Breakthrough, and you're calling it a win. Right? That's how powerful this card is. So here's the here's a deck with Batterhide, Leyline Vermin. So you can see the Batterhide, kind of the same thing, just level gated. And then we'll go down here to Dendrify. Basically, so at level 1, replace a level 1 creature with an Oakfather minion. Obviously, your level 1 Dendrify can't work on it. But level 2 Dendrify says replace a creature with an Oakfather minion, and it does not say your creature. So this is also a good Rumblespark protection. But understand, you have to have survived strong enough through cycle 1 to get your Dendrify up to cycle 2, or level 2. And then you're handing your opponent a free Oakfather, 8/8 with Breakthrough. And then when you overcome that, now you can start winning the game. And then there's, we won't show it, but Nap Time is also a good spell that can remove abilities. And then, Greg, you mentioned Polymorpher, or Botanimate can work because it forces your opponent to replace their own creature, which removes the energy because you didn't destroy it. So some things like that. Just some things to think about. So we ran into some technical difficulties with this playthrough. Unfortunately, we couldn't see the game through to fruition. If I were to give you my Palantir, through the Looking Orb, Greg had strongly established board control in that second game. There's probably no way I was going to win that. Even though I was up at double-digit health points at one point. Once you get the board seated with Dark Art Sorcerers, and you're able to just keep flipping out Rumblespark Embodiment, and you have a board presence, it's very hard to come back from that against a Rumblespark deck. Even had I drawn Nova Elementalist in the third cycle, to get it firing off is probably unlikely. So you can see the strength of that deck to even overcome how much, how fast I was taking away Greg's life. But once you establish board control, because you had the Rumblespark out earlier, and we often see that, right, Greg, in the matchups.
Yeah, sometimes it's who can get Rumblespark out, or who can build a board state to consistently drop it, right? So having access to the Rumbles, keeping the Grimgaunt Predator alive, goes a long way into end up controlling the board into cycle 3, where you'll start hitting really hard.
Yeah, yep, and really it's just getting that Rumblespark Embodiment out. The more times you get it out, the more card advantage you're gaining on your opponent. It is kind of the root of it. So, hey, really interested to see, sorry about the technical difficulties, of course, but really interested to see you guys' thoughts, comments, and if you're an experienced player out there, feel free to drop, your favorite defeat mechanism for Rumblespark, or, let's flip side of this, your favorite thing to do with Rumblesparks, because we didn't really end this. Obviously, we showed a lot of things that our preferred Rumblespark decks do and can do and how they can work. But we didn't really focus this episode on how to make Rumblespark the best. Just kind of wanted to show how it works, how you can think about it, so in a mechanism of how you would defeat it. So feel free to share your thoughts, expertise, comments, or questions below. Thanks, everyone, for attending this match or episode or attempt at matches. All right.
Bye.
Thanks for attending this lesson of the Forgeborn Finishing School. If you like this video, please subscribe, comment, or consider donating to our Patreon account. We look forward to our next lesson.